Well, this is a video that I've wanted to do for some time now, and I want to kind of compare these two knives in front of me. And they are the Zero Tolerance 777 in the M390 configuration, and then the Guardian Tactical Helix with a stone-washed variant blade. And obviously there's a lot of differences between these knives, but I also think that there are quite a few similarities as well. And seeing how this one in particular is quite expensive and quite difficult to even come across, perhaps this might be a good substitute in the marketplace for it. So the 777, this knife was a grail of mine for a long time. And I really never thought that I would get my hands on one because, again, obviously it came out with the herringbone Damascus, and I think it was a Vanex 30 or 70 steel prior, and there were a lot of problems in the build, and there was so much exclusivity and naysay and problems. I mean, it became almost kind of a folklore status to get your hands on the herringbone. And then, again, that one is so rare, and eBay doesn't even see them, so this one has kind of taken its place as the next viable alternative. So anyways, 777 designed, produced, everything in the USA. And then if you're not familiar with this is the Guardian Tactical Helix. And this Guardian Tactical is a company started by the lead, I believe, designer and CNC machinist formerly of Microtech. They went out, started their own company, and this was their first flipper. The other model was the Patron, and that's just a thumb stud version with a reverse Tonto. But anyhow, so again, let's draw some comparisons between the two. Both carbon fiber knives. They both do a really good job, I think, of leveraging the materials. And what I mean by that is this is one of the lightest knives in this size. This is the lightest knife in this size that I've ever come across. And in fact, when I first got it, I was almost a little underwhelmed by this knife. I found one on the exchange. I kind of negotiated back and forth. I finally, pulled the trigger on it. And to celebrate, I spent the day carrying my ZT-0600. And I like these, these bigger, heavier, beefier kind of tank knives. And so when I got this one in, and I picked it up, I was like, oh my gosh, it feels like nothing's there in comparison to the 600. And, I was essentially a little underwhelmed by the knife at first. And I think that's something that's kind of stuck with me a little bit. But going back to the 777, I mean, this is without question one of the most beautiful knives ever made. I mean, the lines that are flowing from the fuller into the handle, and then from the bottom of the blade here through the handle, and that ties in with the lock bar here. And I mean, it's just, they have these sweeping lines, great ergonomics. It's a really thin knife, and typically I like a bit more kind of palm filling, which is what the Helix offers in comparison. Let's take a peek at these two. It's kind of side by side here. I don't know if that conveys it really well, but just the overall thickness of the handle, there's quite a bit of difference. And it's not to say this one's super thick or it's uncomfortable. I mean, you can see that you have this raised portion in the middle, and then they've kind of done some CNC work on the side, so it has that nice contoured feel on both sides, and it's a bit more hand filling. Whereas this one, it has a certain degree of contouring, just a tiny bit, but for the most part, it's really thin. And again, if you want a full-size knife that's thin and almost disappears in your pocket, I mean, you can't do much better than the 777, and probably the 0770 on carbon fibers in the same way. But anyhow, so, feel, again, this one's a bit more hand-filling. This one just kind of disappears in your pocket. And if you like that aspect of disappearing, then go for that one. If you like something where you can feel it a little bit more, there's that one. So let's take a look at weight. I know this is something that a few people are interested in comparison. Let's see, we are currently in grams. Let's go to ounces. Okay, so first up, 777, 4.2 ounces for, oh gosh, I don't remember what the blade length is, but it's fairly sizable. So 4.2 ounces for the 777. Guardian Tactical, 5.6. So 1.2 ounce difference, but again, still not bad for a knife this size. So, I mean, as you can see, the 777 does a better job of leveraging the materials, really getting the most out of carbon fiber. And carbon fiber is a very hard material. It's very rigid, and that's really what its benefit is. I mean, it's, race car drivers, now all of their helmets are made out of carbon fiber. Some of the high-end sports cars, the cabin tub is made out of carbon fiber because it has a great degree of rigidity and strength, but it's also very lightweight. So anyways, there's the difference in kind of terms of the weight and the feel. Flipping action. Guardian, they're both extremely, extremely smooth. The 777, some people have said it's a bad flipper. I think the key is to get your hand off the lock bar here, but here's a light switch. No problem there. And then here's a push button. Also, again, no problem. And it's super smooth. I mean, you get it past that detent, and it just falls on its own weight right into the blade. Guardian Tactical, it's exactly the same. It actually has a stronger detent, so it flips a little bit better. That's the light switch. Let's do the push button. So, again, this one has a little bit stronger detent. It also has a much smaller flipper tab, too. I mean, this thing just barely jets out there. So if you like small flipper tabs that get the job done, these are both good options, but this one's slightly better. They both have jimping on the flipper tabs, which I like, and they both have, this one's a bit more rounded, essentially. This one's a bit flatter, but they both flip very well. Stronger detent, a little more solid of a feel. And then again, the carbon fiber is thicker, so it has a more substantial flipping action. I mean, when you flip with the 777, it almost kind of reverberates through it a little bit because it's the handles are so thin and so light. Not that there's any degree of weakness. I mean, this thing is rock solid. It's extremely impressive. Just with more substantial knives, when you do that flipping action, you flip it hard, there's just a thud, and then there's just that. It stops there. It doesn't reverberate through the handles. The Guardian Tactical, also insanely smooth. It doesn't feel, it drops freely just like the 777, but it doesn't feel as smooth. It's kind of like the difference between driving down a road in a Cadillac versus maybe a sport tuned CTS. You feel the movement a little bit more on this one. Not to say it's gritty, I don't know. I mean, I'm talking about the minutia details. I mean, I've had both these knives for months now, and so this feels a tiny bit smoother, but again, they both fall on their own weight, closed completely. So again, there's some slight differences. In terms of aesthetics, 777, no question. I mean, it's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. It has a beautiful proprietary pivot. It's got this beautiful fuller on the blade. It's got this modified kind of Warncliffe style. I mean, it's a combination of a few different blade types, but hands down, I would give aesthetics to the 777. 3D machined pocket clip versus what I believe is a titanium pocket clip. It feels like titanium, but I don't know how to verify that it is or not. You also have a compound grind here, whereas this one is, I believe it's a flat grind. I could be wrong in some of the details of these, but again, I'm not really going for extreme accuracy, just kind of drawing comparisons. As far as pocket extraction, initially I dinged this one a little bit on not having kind of a low ride pocket clip such as this one does, but as far as extraction, this one's actually easier. What I find that I do is I reach down, I'll put my middle finger on here, and then my thumb will come over and kind of grab into this texture here, and I'll pull it straight out of my pocket. So these screws work as a traction point, and then here's a traction point, and I yank it out of my pocket, and then my finger's ready to go to the flipper tab and open it. This one, it's a bit harder to get out of your pocket. Again, it's not going to be a make or break for this knife, or it shouldn't be for you. But deep carry pocket clip, you just kind of have to grab onto the bottom of the pocket clip or grab onto this portion here and squeeze, which puts pressure down, makes it harder to get out of your pocket, but it's definitely doable. Again, nice 3D machine titanium pocket clip. I think that's the one area where this knife fails. This pocket clip is just a standard spring clip, even if it's in titanium. And this portion here, depending on hand size, can come up and kind of poke you in the hand a little bit. So both use subframe locks, both into carbon fiber. I do like these cutouts here on the blade. I think they look really good. This blade is also primarily CNC'd for the most part. You can see the grind lines. I think that's cool. It's a compound grind. But yeah, I think the edge behind, I think this one actually does slice a little bit better, but they both cut well. And by slice, I mean it's thinner here down at the edge, and it's thinner behind the edge too. So it slices cleaner essentially. But gosh, let's see what else is there to talk about. I think the back spacer, I think it's titanium. Again, I can't be 100% certain. It doesn't feel like steel, but I haven't ever called to ask. Again, it's not a primary concern. I do like the more substantial feel that this has in hand. This one also has a really nice choil that you can choke up on. This one does not. But anyways, I mean, again, I think there's some similarities. Obviously, there are a lot of differences. There's a huge difference in availability and price point currently, though. I mean, this one, if you're lucky and you can find one, you're going to pay anywhere from, let's call it $650 plus. Okay, this one, brand new from the factory with carbon fiber, it's going to be in about $400, $415, $420, somewhere around there, depending on where you get it from. This one is still readily available. You can get it any time. You can also contact them and ask them for maybe some slight variations. I was the first one to request a stonewashed variation. So this was the first stonewashed one that they ever created, and this is number 175. So anyways, but yeah, both amazing knives. Both have, I don't know, gosh, there's just slight variances. There's a lot that's the same. They both have good jimping here on the spines. But yes, this one does flip quite well. Gosh, just such good ergonomics. I really like them both, but I think that they both fit kind of into the same role for me. Tactical carbon fiber flippers that are insanely smooth, great ergonomics. Again, the only thing that was a little bit of a letdown for me was this is almost too light for what I was expecting when, I spend most of my time with, the bigger, heavier titanium style flippers. So anyways, I hope that was helpful. I'm sure I missed out on quite a few key points here, but perhaps this gives you kind of an idea of one versus the other, or helps you decide if you should spend the extra $250, 200 and something plus bucks to get this one, assuming you can find it. Or if maybe this one will fill that role for you, or maybe you'll say, screw it, I don't like either, and I want to get my hands on this one, on the ZT600. I don't know. I mean, we have a lot of choices, and it's cool that we have choices that are somewhat similar and that can fill the same role for what we're looking for. So anyways, don't know if that was helpful. Don't even know what I said. I'll have to watch this and see what actually came out. But comments or questions, go ahead and put them down below. If someone wants something specific, I'd be happy to do a follow-up video, assuming that I keep both of these in for the foreseeable future. So thanks for watching. Take care.